I chose to do my topic on terrorism, and here are some facts about it. There is no single universally accepted definition of terrorism. It is defined by the Code of Federal Regulations as the illegal use of force or violence against a nation, people, or property to intimidate or hurt a government or the civilians that live in it. Some biological weapons have been called the poor man's atom bomb because the capacity to produce and spread them requires relatively little in cost and technology to make them. Approximately 641 terrorist incidents occurred in the United States between 1971 and 1975, compared to 272 between 1980 and 1991. Among these attacks were 166 bombings, 120 fire bombings, and 118 shootings. During the first 6 months of 1975 alone, 24 attacks occurred in California, 12 in New York, and 11 were directed at targets on the U.S. Commonwealth and Puerto Rico. Terrorist groups motivated by religious concerns are becoming more common. Of 11 identified by the Rand Corporation in 1968, none were classified as religiously motivated. By 1994, a third of 49 international groups were identified as religious. The portion of the Pentagon that had been slammed into by American Airline Flight 77 on September 11, 2001, had recently been renovated to minimize damage from an explosion. Renovations included the installation of new vertical steel beams on the sides of every exterior window, new mesh material similar to Kevlar, stressed between the steel beams to catch debris, and blast-resistant windows with thick panes 1.5 inch thick. The FBI did not begin to formally record annual terrorism figures until the mid-1970s. The first time the World Trade Center was attacked on February 26, 1993, a terrorist bomb exploded on the B2 level in One World Trade Center, killing 6 people and leaving a 200-foot wide, 5-story deep crater. At 9:40 a.m. on September 11, 2001, following the most recent attack on the World Trade Center and the Pentagon, the Federal Aviation Administration halted all flight operations at U.S. airports. This is the first time in U.S. history that air traffic nationwide has been halted. And I chose the topic of terrorism because of how it has changed our country and how it affects everybody in it, because ever since 9/11, how it has made airports strict, and it's hard to do a lot of things that you used to be able to do. I am strongly against terrorism because it has no positive outcome no matter what happens. Someone will always end up being hurt or killed, and even though the terrorists sometimes accomplish their goal in the end, they really do gain nothing. And when they realize the world will be a better place, they will stop doing this. I often wonder how our country would be if 9/11 never happened. I wonder if we would still be alive, still have tightened security in airports, and made it harder to enter our country. I think it's good that we made security changes in airports and other things, but I think it's wrong that it took us as long as 9/11 to do this. This topic means a lot to me because my cousin is going into the Green Beret, and he'll soon be protecting our country and fighting against terrorism every day. I picked the song "Where Were You When the World Stopped Turning" by Alan Jackson because it is about 9/11 and the people in it that it did and did not affect. The song has always been meaningful to me because of what it is about, and I always have been against terrorism. I think the song makes people realize how lucky we are as a nation and how lucky each one of us are to have what we have and not worry like many other nations have to. I also think the song shows us what really matters in life, like our family and friends, and to enjoy all the little moments in life, because you never know when you may not be able to have them anymore, because as the past shows us, anything can happen to anyone at any time and anywhere.
Question.
You said about how our airports are getting better at doing systems to make sure that are some of those procedures that they do?
Well, I know whenever I went to go hunting in Colorado a few years ago, I had to go through like 3 scanners just to get like into the airport, and they check all your bags, and you have to take off your shoes and everything, and if they think if you look suspicious anyway, they'll pull you over to the side and talk to you, and they single some people out.
Do you think there's like going to be, well, in your opinion, do you think there's going to be another terrorist attack anytime soon?
Yes, I do, because of all the stuff happening in North Korea right now, and how they threw away like the treaty that ended the Korean War. They just threw that away and got rid of it.
Do you think that people of different cultures are more discriminated against in airports?
Yes, I do, because I know whenever I was there, there was like a separate line of people that I know they just singled certain people out. Like there was a guy behind me, and he was like, you could tell he was from a different nation, and they pulled him over to the side. I didn't think there was anything wrong with him, they just pulled him over.
Do you think that all these regulations are necessary?
Yes, I do, because I know that we're not the most favored nation in the world by a lot of other nations, so I think that we need to do everything that we can to keep everyone in our country safe.
Since you said, like, you pretty much said that even when terrorists, like, they come and attack us, it's pretty much like they get nothing in return, then why do they do it? Why do you think they do it?
I think they do it because of their religious beliefs and what they believe in. So to them, they're gaining, like they're doing what they're supposed to do, but I think if they thought about it, they realize they really weren't gaining anything. I think they just do it because they think that's what they're supposed to do.
They just made it legal to be able to carry a small knife on the plane. Do you think that's a good idea?
I think it's a good idea, and then I don't, because it makes people that want to do bad things able to have that. But then again, if something does happen, then somebody could have one, and then they could protect innocent people. But
do you think some of the new bills have gone too far, like the Patriot Act? And do you think that they kind of are taking away rights from the citizens of the U.S.?
yeah, I do, because they're making it harder for people in our own country to protect themselves. Like the thing with how they're banning guns and making them more expensive, like that too. I personally think that, in my personal opinion, it's not good to do that, because if something ever does happen, people want to know that they can protect themselves. Peace.
You said up until 1994, I don't know if it was just among the world or in the U.S., terrorist attacks weren't considered religious at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you think now that they've started basing them on religion, has that changed the way we look at things and made different regulations on things?
I think it has, because a lot of, I know, like, Muslims and all that, they're motivated a lot by religions because of what they believe in, and how we don't believe in it really, or support it over here as much as they do. And I know that's what a lot of the reasons they attack, because they believe that once they do that, then they go to their God, and then that's it.
Do you think that Dennis Rodman's a good ambassador of the United States against terrorism?
Yes.
Any other questions?